And we continue at 2:06 in the afternoon on the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wang's in Culver City.
John, yesterday, LA Mayor Karen Bass went on a podcasting blitz, doing several interviews over Zoom, and did an in-person interview in her office in downtown LA with former MSNBC host Joy Reid. And, Johnny, what do you think happens when you try to do an in-person interview in downtown LA?
There were sirens.
Do you know how many people have been, I think in a lot of people's view, kidnapped, taken into custody by ICE? Do you know who they are and where they are?
So let me just say that I thought it was around 50. I learned this morning, I had a meeting with the immigrant rights groups, and it's over 100, or it might be from 100 to 300 people.
That siren means there's another peaceful protest going on.
Do you see the peaceful protesters are now doxing the hotels of where these agents are staying so they can go bother them there?
Oh, yes. Very, very, very peaceful.
And they're harassing the hotels and saying you should kick them out.
And what's funny is the moment you respond, they play the victim immediately. Including Alex Padilla. I can't stop watching that video of him getting thrown out. He tries to hijack the press conference. And by the way, when you're a member of Congress, you could subpoena secretaries, cabinet secretaries, anytime you want. So if he had questions for her, there's a formal process of how you can get those questions answered. We heard during the news that apparently she met with him privately and gave him her cell phone number. She said they don't agree on anything, but he can contact her anytime he wants. But that's not what he was looking for. What he was looking for was a moment that would go viral, and he could generate all the attention in the world for himself as someone who's a chest-beating Trump hater.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your heads off.
I'm surprised that diva didn't bring any Chardonnay to throw.
The whole world is a reality show now.
And then, as all of this is going on, did you see there was a mistrial for Harvey Weinstein?
What? Again?
Yeah, listen to this. So he's on trial, and apparently the jury has been deliberating for days. And the jury foreman said that they were physically threatened in the deliberation room by other jurors. And the jury foreman said that they don't feel safe going back in that room. So the judge declared a mistrial. Have you ever been part of a jury that has had to deliberate before?
I have not, but I know that you have.
Let me tell you something. It's a knife fight. It is a knife fight from the moment that door closes until the moment you leave. That jury deliberation was one of the most unpleasant experiences I've ever participated in. Because all of these people who are fighting with one another on social media, the nastiness that you see on a daily basis, that's what happens inside that room, except they're face-to-face and you can't leave the table. I can only imagine how tense things got in that room for this foreman to say it needs to be a mistrial. To be a fly on the wall. They did a play about that, 12 Angry Men. Remember that? When our jury deliberated, this one woman on the jury did a one-woman production of 12 Angry Men. And she was so toxic that the jury almost hung just based on how she participated in the deliberations. It's really wild how one person can almost derail the entire thing. I came real close to hanging that jury, too. Real close. All right. Well, all of this is going on. Los Angeles County Supervisor Kathryn Barger did a sit-down with Fox 11's Alex Michelson, where she brought up a very important point, a point that you and I have been discussing all week long, which is if you are opposed to ICE raids that are going on right now and you want them to focus on criminals, then the easiest way to do that is to repeal your sanctuary city status, your sanctuary county status, your sanctuary state status, so that way they can just go and cooperate with the people that run the jails, the people that run the prisons, and they can get the bad ones that way and put them on the plane and send them home. But that's not what happens in California, so the feds have to cast a wider net, and then they bitch about that too.
Here is Kathryn Barger's interview with Alex Michelson. And we have already gotten emails about this interview for one very, 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 very specific reason.
Quite frankly.
Yep, I had a feeling.
There's 3 in a 7-minute interview.
Well, she was the OG, isn't she?
She's the original reason that I discovered that this was a thing. Because it was a different interview she did on Fox 11 with Marla Tejas during the COVID days, where she said it about 3 times in the span of 5 minutes. And then, as I started pulling sound from LA supervisor meetings, I noticed that it wasn't just her. Because Kathryn would say it.
Quite frankly.
And Holly would say it.
Quite frankly.
And Hilda would say it.
Quite frankly.
And then when she joined, Horvath would say it.
Quite frankly.
But Janice, she won't say it.
I love the bus driver.
Why do you think Janice is holding out?
I wish I knew. All right, let's hear what Kathryn Barger has to say. And heck, it's almost 5 o'clock, right? You hear her say the phrase that pays? Enjoy yourself.
We continue to look live. This is in downtown Los Angeles. Over 450 protesters have been arrested in L.A. County in connection with those ICE immigration-related demonstrations.
But very peaceful.
Very peaceful.
L.A. County Supervisor Kathryn Barger, the chair of the Board of Supervisors, joins me now. We know you always have strong takes on a lot of things. What is your big takeaway so far after these historic few days in L.A. County that are getting worldwide attention?
Well, I have a lot of takeaways at all levels. I mean, right now, I've been getting calls, and actually someone that works in my office, her godson was pulled over by someone who didn't show a badge, was in an unmarked car, and quite frankly, he was afraid.
There's the first one. You're not allowed to play the game. I'm not allowed to play the game. If you're driving, you're not allowed to play the game.
If you're at home right now, enjoy yourself.
And my greatest fear is that if they're not IDing themselves, you're going to have imposters out there taking advantage of the community. And so I've reached out to ICE. I think it's important for us to communicate something that is not occurring. And it's
We're not allowed to.
That's right. Because we're a sanctuary county.
And a sanctuary state.
And it's across the board. And by the way, ICE doesn't trust, the federal government doesn't trust local to have their back.
Gee, I wonder why. Wasn't it a member of the LA City Council who went in a public forum and asked the chief of police to blatantly violate the law in that regard?
Yes, Imelda Padilla.
The neighborhood kids, the down-ass kids don't like it.
Asked Jim McDonald, the chief of LAPD, if he could use technology to find out where ICE is coming and warn us.
Let's listen to that.
This was on Tuesday's LA City Council meeting. Feels like it was a week ago, but here is Imelda and Jim McDonald.
I'm asking a
creativity
question here. What can your department do to do more to warn us, to warn the business community that outside of our LA borders, coming in from Inglewood, coming in from Antelope Valley, I don't know, you can warn us so that we can warn our folks in the spirit of your loyalty to the city of Los Angeles?
So you're asking me to warn you about an enforcement action being taken by another agency before it happens?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Why not?
That would be obstruction of justice. You may want to talk to the city attorney about that.
He was very, very, very calm. Because let me tell you, he's in a bad position because he was asked to break the law by one of his bosses. And he was asked to break the law by someone who's too dumb to know that she just asked him to break the law.
She went on to complain and say, well, I want to hear what the city attorney has to say, but the city attorney wasn't available. So I guess the question continued in closed session.
How do you explain that to her if you're the city attorney?
It's quite a world that we live in, that people who are elected to write laws in Los Angeles, who get paid $220,000 a year, have no concept of the law.
Broken windy theory.
I have a feeling she's going to end up in jail, too. Because if she has no concept of what's legal and what's not, it's real easy to break the law and not even know it.
And we know members of the LA City Council are predisposed to breaking the law. All right, let's go back to Kathryn Barger.
So, this is what happens when you don't work together. And in the end, the community is the casualty of the war. We kicked ICE out of our jails where we would have picked up the felons once they did their time, and we put them back in the community. And this is what you get. This is what you get when you don't work with ICE.
So you're saying that the sanctuary policy, which a lot of your colleagues say is so important, doesn't sound like something you think is working.
Obviously, it's not, Alex. If they began with the focus on picking up people that have broken the law, serious crimes, they've gone in, they've picked up that individual, and then they pick up others that are there.
Right.
We have sent them back into the community.
Including, what was that we found out yesterday? One of the people that ICE picked up this week was someone who was convicted of second-degree murder back in the 90s.
Here's the thing. With the federal government, like with any other government or aspect of government, there's not a thing called unlimited resources. You don't have unlimited amounts of personnel, unlimited amounts of time, unlimited amounts of money. You have limited personnel, limited time, limited money. And so you spend your time in ways that you think are the most efficient use of your time. And if the county of Los Angeles and the state of California were to say, all right, we're going to cooperate with you, and when someone who's an inmate in a county facility or city facility or state facility is finished serving their time, we're going to turn them over to you. We have so many of them, that would occupy all of their time. They wouldn't have time for anything else.
If we had an agreement which we did, and actually this was under Alex Villanueva when he ran, one of his promises was that he would eliminate ICE in the jails.
Boy, he did a 180.
Yeah, he did.
And, it would have been out of his hands anyway because the state passed law.
When he ran against McDonnell, he ran to the left of McDonnell. But by the time his term was up, he was to the right of any sheriff that this county's ever seen.
Yeah, there was definitely a political evolution going on there.
And, it would have been out of his hands anyway because the state passed law that you can't cooperate. But what do you expect when you send them back into the community and, even people that are not thrilled with what's taking place support the fact that the president said when he ran that he was going to deport undocumented that have committed crimes, serious crimes in this country.
And that's who these sanctuary policies protect. I always love to bring up the example of what happened last year in San Francisco when Matt Dorsey wanted to create an exemption to San Francisco's sanctuary policy that would make it so if you're arrested for being a fentanyl dealer, and there are several fentanyl dealers in San Francisco who are in the country illegally from Honduras, we can turn you over to ICE. The Board of Supervisors, which was a lot more progressive than it is now, voted it down, and he was called racist.
Look at what's going on right now in the country, where people are going nuts in New York and Chicago and Los Angeles and Oakland and San Francisco. What do all those places have in common? They're all big blue states that are sanctuary states. You're not seeing these things going on in Billings, Montana, because what the state of Montana is doing is cooperating with ICE, and ICE is focused on the criminal aliens. Well, you don't cooperate with ICE, guess what? That's when they go out and they have to find these people at home. And guess what? Criminal aliens tend to live with other people who are illegal aliens. They tend to work with other people who are illegal aliens. They tend to have people in their social network who are also illegal aliens. And if you catch them, they got to go too. There's a real easy way of changing that if you're the County of Los Angeles or the state of California and they refuse to do it. Well, if you refuse to do it, don't complain about ICE doing their job.
And that's what he's doing. But it's gotten to an entirely different level. And then when I see these protesters who, they don't like ICE, they don't like LAPD, they don't like sheriff, they're burning the American flag, they're spitting on it.
You know what one of the graffitis that was in downtown LA said?
What?
Save a life, kill a cop.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's really, really, really awful.
What kind of message is that sending as well? I mean, this has become absolutely out of hand. You've got opportunists who truly do deserve to have the book thrown at them for throwing rocks. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Or smashing up the sidewalk to throw rocks and turn it into rocks.
Yeah, well, I mean,
You know, that video went around the world of Alex complaining about that on live television. Even the president saw it and talked about it.
I'll tell you, thank God for Kathryn Barger. She is the one voice of sanity that we have in this county. Without her, that board of supervisors would have 5 lunatics on it.
Yeah.
She's like the blonde girl in the Munsters.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've watched it. I mean, I think the fact I applaud the mayor for doing the curfew because at night is when you had these opportunists, these anarchists coming into town who truly do want to undermine the rule of law.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of it is true, but like the people throwing Molotov cocktails, that happened during the day in Paramount at the ICE agents.
Oh, it started out violent. It's not like it was a peaceful protest that got taken over by outside agitators. It was violent from the moment it started.
Yeah, and this is Monday night, that video that we're talking about now, and you saw some of those anarchists who come out at event after event. Okay, so how do we go forward then, Supervisor?
We'll hear those responses when we come back, Johnny.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, with the end of the show quickly approaching, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
All you got to do is search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether it's the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. If you don't want to do it for us, do it for Shang, because it makes her real happy.
That's right. I like that. That was amazing.
In the meantime, what do you say we make a couple of listeners very happy?
Let's do that right now. 790 KABC welcomes George Thurgood with special guest Foghat at the Pacific Amphitheater at the OC Fair, July 18th. Tickets are on sale now at pacamp.com, but right now, call in number 9 at 1-888-795-2222. Gets a pair of tickets to the show. All concert tickets include admission to the OC Fair. Tickets furnished by the Pacific Amphitheater. Good luck dialing.
Coming up next, we're going to go back to L.A. County Supervisor Kathryn Barger and her sit-down with Fox 11's Alex Michelson, where she threw out a lot of truth, including just exactly why the state of California needs to stop being a sanctuary state. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Let's go back to L.A. County Supervisor Kathryn Barger with Fox 11's Alex Michelson.
And if you're keeping score at home, so far we've only hit 1 out of 3 QFs in this interview.
How do we go forward then, Supervisor? How do we build trust? Because we've got this weekend, we've got a big protest coming up. The No Kings protests are going to be happening around the country. The president having a big military parade in Washington on the day of his birthday. We know there's going to be a lot of people out in the streets. How do we keep that safe?
We don't.
No. They're going to be violent, they're going to loot, and we're going to call it peaceful.
Time to get out of town.
Well, first of all, this is being well orchestrated by some groups that, quite frankly...
There's the second one.
All right.
She never disappoints.
Are using this as an opportunity to take down the government, in my opinion. So it's going to be all across the country, but it's funded and it's being done by groups that are very, very orchestrated.
And a lot of those groups get funding from our local governments.
That's right. The money is laundered. The state gives these groups the money. The groups then donate to the politicians or endorse the politicians, and it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Sometimes the employment status goes from these organizations to the government and back and forth.
And that's just the reality. It started in LA. You're seeing it happen across the country. What am I going to do? I'm going to continue to do what I always do. I'm going to represent my district, recognizing that the federal government is a partner. ICE is part of our government. And we have to work together.
One of the big complaints that Karen Bass and members of the LA City Council and other members of the Board of Supervisors have had is, ICE doesn't even coordinate with us when they do these raids. Well, one, you would warn people about them. But two, we're a sanctuary state, and you've made it so our law enforcement can't talk to ICE.
And then they act surprised when there's no cooperation.
And we have to work together, whether we like it or not. If they're following the rule of law, it's really not up to me as an elected. I took an oath to uphold the Constitution. I take that very seriously, but I also take seriously the fact that I have a part of my district that burned down, and I need to work with the federal government because my constituents are hoping and expecting support from the federal government to rebuild, and I plan to work.
It's been a bad year for LA.
Oh, my God. To start off the year, we had the fires.
Oh, great. Karen Bass has a presser right now. We're not going to take it, but I'm sure I'm going to have to listen to it on the way home. You know what she was doing earlier?
What?
She had a photo up where she was cleaning up graffiti.
She is the worst. I'll tell you. She is worse than Garcetti, and for the first several years of her administration, I have been defending her honor against allegations that she was worse than Garcetti because Garcetti was the absolute pits. It's official. She's worse than him.
I give him the full face.
And I plan to work with our president to make sure that happens.
Right, and that's a point that I brought up with Governor Newsom the other day. Essentially, if you fight him so hard on this, could that mean less money than the $40 billion that he's asked for from the federal government on this side? So in terms of your colleagues, the sanctuary policy that you clearly think is not working, do any of your other colleagues on the board share that perspective?
The answer is no, of course not. They're insane.
Well, we kept voting for them. Holly Mitchell was up for re-election. She won handily in the primary. Hilda won handily. Janice won handily.
Do you have anything close to the number of votes to change that policy in the short term now that we've seen what we're seeing?
I am on an island, and I'm okay being on that island because I know what I'm doing is right. I feel I've been consistent throughout my entire 10 years, 11 years on the board. I believe that we have truly this is self-inflicted, what is happening, because by pushing ICE out of the jails and not cooperating with the federal government for individuals that, quite frankly...
All right, we have the hat trick.
There's your third one. Enjoy yourselves, kids.
Are going back into a community and victimizing that community even more, the community that we are supposedly protecting. I'm by myself on this, but I'm going to be vocal and I'm going to be consistent. You can ask me in a year, you can ask me in 2 years, and I will be consistent because I truly do believe that we need to work with the federal government. And oh, by the way, if you were to talk to law enforcement, both LAPD and sheriff, they are grateful that the Guard came in. Now, the question of who oversees it, I get it. I agree with the governor on this.
Yeah, if you talk to the rank and file, they want all the help they can get.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between the electeds and the beat cops. The beat cops understand exactly what's going on. They see it with their own two eyes. They know that the city and the county doesn't have their back, and they need other bodies out there to make sure that they have protection.
Well, and as much as, everyone wants to frame this as it's a peaceful protest and they're protesting what the federal government is doing. If you listen to some of the live feeds that were going on over the weekend, these protesters were saying the most awful things possible to LAPD about LAPD, calling them traitors and every name in the book, spitting on them, and they have to show incredible restraint to have to deal with that. And then you have the people that literally try to drive a motorcycle into them.
Well, and then you have the electeds who are just as bad as the criminals who are out there rioting, where you have Isabel Llarado's aides arrested for allegedly assaulting police officers, and you have Maxine Waters out there heckling the cops, telling them to shoot her.
I get it. I agree with the governor on this. It's unfortunate that it's been federalized because this really is under the governor, and it worked well when we had the fires. But if you talk to law enforcement...
Another thing that's so infuriating is all of this saber rattling about who should have called the National Guard. Gavin called the National Guard to go in the Tenderloin.
Didn't he call him into Oakland, too, after In-N-Out shut down?
Yes. It's not like it's really a big deal to call in the National Guard, but of course we have to make it sound like it's a really big deal, and it's unprecedented.
We have a riot going on where the cops are admittingly overwhelmed, and it becomes a massive scandal to send the National Guard in to help them. Yet you can't get a double-double in Oakland, and here comes the Guard.
But if you talk to law enforcement, they are grateful. Our sheriffs are overworked. They're working 20 hours straight. We had one sheriff that died age 21 and had been working straight overtime.
Yeah.
You know, something's got to give. We got to work together.
Yeah, when we go on one of these tactical alerts, that means no days off for our already understaffed police force and sheriff's department. You can call for mutual aid all you want, but we're seeing unrest in other parts of the state as well. It's such nonsense that we're having this fight over the National Guard.
And let's also be honest. These are human beings. They're not machines. And if you're working those kinds of hours under those conditions, you're exhausted. There are very specific rules for airline pilots and flight attendants, for example, as to how many hours they can work and how much rest time they need. It's regulated by the government because if you have a tired pilot in the cockpit, their judgment may not be the best. If you have these police officers who are on the streets being heckled, having objects hurled at them, fireworks shot at them, all of those things that we've all seen with our own two eyes going on in downtown LA, and they're tired. I don't know about you, but when I'm tired, I'm punchy. When I'm tired, I'm cranky. When I'm tired, I don't always have the best judgment. You don't want that happening. You need reinforcements out there so these people can sleep.
And not politicize and use the National Guard and law enforcement as a pawn on this whole disagreement that's taking place.
And if you talk off camera with a lot of the sheriff's deputies that work in the jails, they would agree with your position as well when it comes to sanctuary cities. So it's interesting, and we're grateful for your perspective. We welcome other members of the Board of Supervisors. They want to share the other perspective. They say that it is a problem for trust within the community, and that's...
Oh, can we stop that?
It's so tired and so wrong.
We had Special Order 40 in the city of Los Angeles going back to the 1970s. And when Ulysses Hernandez and Hugo Soto Martinez argued to make it official that LA was a sanctuary city because it was only just kind of known that it was a sanctuary city, but it was never written into the city charter. They said, well, we need to do this because right now the immigrant community is afraid to call the police. Well, you've been saying that for 40 years.
Remember, we have to bring them out of the shadows. That's what we heard over and over and over again.
Within the community, and that's their argument for the policy, but obviously it's very top of mind and very relevant discussion right now. Supervisor Kathryn Barger, always sharing your view, whether it's popular or not. We appreciate you bringing a strong take every time we see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
So that's what Kathryn Barger had to say last night on Fox 11.
Okay. I know a lot of you get mad at her when she isn't as forceful as you want her to be. Think about the position that she's in. She is the one sane person on a board with 4 other totally insane people. You have to get to 3 votes to get anything done. If you're the voice of sanity, it doesn't matter if you lose every vote 4-1. She has to try to do whatever it is that she can do to get whatever sane policy she can out of that county. And if that doesn't mean going into every issue guns a-blazing, she's got to do what she's got to do, because I couldn't do that job any better. Very few people can. It's easy to go in there and vote no on everything and to lose every vote, and then to say, well, I fought the good fight and this is just the way it is. These are the cards. This is the way the cookie crumbles. But to try to manipulate the other people into doing things that they don't want to do that are in the best interest of the county means you got to give something every so often. And she does, and I admit that. But I don't know how else you do it. If you have better ideas as to how to use that position as the one sane vote on that board any differently to get a better result, please let me know. Because I know in politics, it's a popularity contest. He who gets the most votes wins. And it works that way once you're elected and on the board, too. If you don't get to 3 votes, you get nothing. She's got one of the hardest jobs in American politics. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Mike in Oakland. Mike, hello.
Oh, boy, it's been the wildest times up in here. I'm trying to scratch my head. I'm trying to figure out who's the mayor. Anybody know who the mayor? I don't know who the mayor is. It's been. I don't know what to do. Anybody got any suggestions?
The mayor went on TV and said she thinks everything's going to be fine on Saturday. She's not worried about it.
Okay, well, you tell her to start on East 14th from the Lake Merritt to the San Leandro border and go all the way down there and tell me everything's okay.
Well, is she
in prison? Where is she? What's going on?
I think she's at the cricket match at the Coliseum.
The cricket match? You guys been okay. It's been a hard time for me because we're worried about Saturday.
Yeah.
Things broke out here and I'm all for the police and the guards and everything and all that because right now it's been a long time of coming.
Well, there were shoe stores that just got looted, cars that were set on fire, and that was before the big rally. So, I don't know. I'd keep my fingers crossed.
Well, I'm looking here down at Oakland, and, there's a lot of us here that are ultra-conservatives. So, don't get it all wrong that we're all one way, but a lot of us support what's going on. And believe me, Oakland, man, I've been rolling real low. People have been asking me why don't I run for mayor. I'm thinking about it. I am thinking about running for mayor. The first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get a Cadillac from the city.
If you do run for mayor, you announce on this program you have an open invitation.
I appreciate you guys. It's been a long time of coming because I'll be working back in L.A., but I'm looking over at the city now. Oh man, y'all got to help us here. It's a mess. It's a mess. And send me some royalty money for you. It's a wild, wild west.
It's wild, wild west out here.
You made that famous.
Yeah, but it's good to hear you guys' voice. I keep forgetting about you. I'll call more and give you more info what's going on. But I'm being honest with you. I don't even know who the mayor is. And long story short, I don't want to ramble. I went down to the Alameda County Super Board meeting. You want to see what they spend in this county? They got to pay me.
All right. Thank you for the call, sir. I appreciate it.
Guys.
Call us anytime, man. We love you, Mike.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Wild Wild West man.
It's wild, wild west out here.
Now, if this guy could call in, we'd be all set.
I said, hell no, baby boy. Let me get up on out of here.